Well, you know what I'm thankful for this morning? I'm thankful that Sartons are here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have anybody to tell a story to. So thank you. Do you like nature? Nature's a lot of fun, a lot of things we can learn. I've got a daughter and son-in-law who are right now up in Alaska taking pictures of polar bears. I'm going to tell you a story about sparrows, but before I do that, I want to tell you a story about deers, fawns. When it was about the time we started going here to this church, and Mark might remember this story, Robin or Patty might remember this story, but there was a fawn out in our pasture, and it was crying very loud. And so I went out there, and the horses had kicked one of the legs of that fawn and broken it. So I picked it up and started carrying it back. Well, the horses thought that I shouldn't do that, so they're kind of pushing me around. No, you're not going to do that. I'm taking this fawn to the house. We got it to the house. We tried to find somebody that would fix that leg. And we called a lot of people. No, they wouldn't do it. Well, Gwen's a surgery nurse. Her mother's a surgery nurse, so they decided to set the leg. And it came out really good. And after the cast was taken off and the fawn started kind of walking around a little bit, the kids decided, our children decided to play tag with it. And that deer knew how to play tag. And for a few hours, actually maybe a couple hours, maybe only an hour, it worked out pretty good. But then you know what happened? That fawn could run way faster than they could. But nature is really, really interesting, and sometimes we take it for granted. Do you like birds? You like birds? Grant was telling me, the greeter, that there was, while we were in Sabbath school today, there was a raven that walked up and looked in the door, and he said, I think that raven was there because he wanted to hear the hymns. I don't know if that's true. But we shouldn't take any of nature for granted. It's an important gift to us. Now, I want to read to you what Jesus said in Matthew 10 about sparrows. Then I'm going to tell you a story about 3 billion sparrows. That's a lot of sparrows. And not two sparrows sold for a copper are not two sparrows sold for a copper coin? And not one of them falls to the ground apart from your Father's will. Isn't that interesting? Even the birds. God's interested in the birds. Back in 1928, there was a man who have you ever been in China? Anybody been in China? One person's been in China. And Gwen and I were in China for just a very short time in Shanghai. And there's a lot of really nice Chinese people, really nice. But as far as our trip there, we didn't really like China that much. There was a time when China was a really good country. And there was a man by the name of Chiang Kai-shek, who was the leader. He started in 1928, but in 1949, the government was taken over by the communists. And he was married to a Seventh-day Adventist. Not a lot of people know that. And she got Seventh-day Adventist education going big in China. And Chiang Kai-shek thought that was going to be the future for China. But after the war started, he said, I made a mistake. Should have put a lot of that money, instead of putting it in education, I should have put it into the military. And so communism took over in 1949. A man by the name of Mao Zedong was the leader. And, he wanted to show how smart he was. So this happened in about 10 years after he was taken as leader there. He was the leader of China. He decided that there were pests in agriculture, and somehow these pests had to be destroyed. And he was going to show his brilliance by destroying these pests. And it was a campaign against 4 pests. It was flies, mosquitoes, rats, and sparrows. And they thought those pests eat some of our food, and we want to keep that food for ourselves. So he came up with the idea, we're going to kill these pests. And they weren't real good at killing flies. They weren't real good at killing mosquitoes. And they seemed to have a hard time killing rats. But they decided we can kill sparrows. And it's estimated they killed about 3 billion of them. They would shoot them. They did all kinds of things. One of the things they did is they would take pots and pans, and they said, if we keep sparrows flying and they can't land, they'll be so exhausted they'll die. And so they had a big campaign. People would get out on their roofs in shifts throughout the night, banging these pans. The sparrows didn't know where to land, and they got exhausted and they died. Well, they learned a lesson. It's not a good idea to mess with nature. And Jesus even said, when two sparrows fall, one sparrow falls, I notice it. Well, he did a lot of noticing about that time. And what happened with the sparrows gone, locusts came in like crazy and wiped out the crops. And it's estimated, they know it was tens of millions of people who died. Some estimate as high as 78 million. When I looked it up, I saw the number 45 million people starved to death as the most common number. But a lot of people died because they went out and killed the sparrows. Isn't that interesting? We want to recognize there's a Father in heaven who cares for nature, and we don't want to take it for granted. And when we can help nature, we will, won't we? So let's remember, when we look at the sky and the trees and all the beautiful animals that God has created, let's be thankful for him. It's a demonstration of his power of creation. You can go back to your seats now.